Hey guys, welcome back to Faith Fuels My Fire, the podcast. I'm your host, Lorena Camille. In today's episode, I go over doing a social media fast or a social media detox and my experience with that. But first, before we get into that, I did want to say a quick prayer. So if you would please just close your eyes and pray with me. Lord, I pray that you lift up every single person listening to this right now. Lord, please open up our eyes to see the truth of your words. And I pray that each person that listens to this episode takes exactly what it is that you want them to get out of it and they implement it in their daily life. And I pray that we always lean on you and we seek to have as close as a relationship to you as possible. I love you with my whole heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Alright, so 40 days before Easter, I did a social media fast for 40 days. And first I just want to talk about why I did the fast. So before I did the fast, I started a new Bible plan, and it was 40 days before Easter, and it went over fasting and Lent and Jesus' arrest, his crucifixion, and all of that. And at the beginning of that Bible plan, it was talking about fasting and praying to God and asking him what he wanted you to fast for those 40 days. So after some prayer and reflection, I decided to fast social media for 40 days. And I know that I've talked about social media before and how it didn't affect me like it used to, but around that time I started noticing that it wasn't all social media, but in specific YouTube was becoming very time consuming for me. There were certain YouTubers that I loved to watch, and I was getting so caught up in seeing if they had new videos, and then I would see recommended videos from people that were similar to the people I watched, and it was just kind of like a domino spiral effect where I could get stuck in YouTube for hours and hours just watching videos instead of doing what's most important, and that's spending time with Christ and spreading the gospel and strengthening my relationship with Christ. And at first I thought about just doing a fast on YouTube, but then I quickly realized that I should just do a fast on all of social media, because back a couple of years ago, Facebook was the social media that I spent the most time on. It was the most time consuming for me at the time. And then once I started doing social media detoxes from Facebook, I started realizing I was going more to Instagram and then to YouTube. And that's usually how it happens, where if you take away one thing but not the other things that are similar, you're just going to resort to them. So ultimately, I decided to do a fast for all of social media for 40 days. And it was a challenge at first, but it became easier. And I wasn't even going to talk about this at all to anyone, but now I realize that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't, because I know that social media is a problem for a lot of people, and a lot of people feel like they can't live without social media. So today I'm just going to talk about all of the things with me fasting social media for 40 days. The pros, the cons, the withdrawal process, what I learned, and my exceptions. So first I just want to go into my exceptions, because I do have this podcast where I teach Bible studies and I spread the gospel, and I do have a Facebook group for my Bible study with the study guides and all of that. So there were certain things that I didn't want to completely stop doing because they were helping me to spread the gospel and to teach you guys about Jesus Christ and about the Bible. So there were a few things that I still did on social media, but it wasn't anything like endless scrolling or just watching random videos or anything like that. So I'm going to just tell you some of my exceptions. So I would post my episodes twice a week on my Facebook group. So I always post twice a week on my podcast, and I do one Bible study and then one other like faith-based episode. So I would just go straight to Facebook from Internet Explorer. I didn't have the app on my phone, and I would have to download it if I needed to upload anything for the study guides or the Bible studies. But I would just go directly to the internet, sign in on Facebook, and post about my episodes on my Facebook group, and that's it. I wouldn't allow myself to scroll on Facebook or look at my friend requests, my messages, anything like that. It was just to post on the Facebook group. That's it, because I didn't want people to not be able to get the Bible studies, the study guides, and the faith-based episodes if they were on my Facebook group, because the Facebook group is my main way to have a community for you guys other than this podcast. Also, I do have Tailwind, so that is like an automated where you just schedule episodes to go onto Pinterest, and so I would just schedule my episodes on Tailwind but I wouldn't even go into Pinterest. I would just do it solely on Tailwind and have those episodes scheduled on there so they could still post on Pinterest so people could still see my Bible studies and all of that. And I would also upload to YouTube my Bible studies and the episodes. All of the things that I would make exceptions for is because my main reason for doing this social media fast was to get closer to Christ, to strengthen my relationship with Him, and to spread the gospel. And all of my podcast episodes are teaching others about Jesus Christ and doing the Bible studies and faith-based things. So it was still important for me to do certain things to make sure that you guys were able to still learn from my Bible studies and get the faith-based tips. So twice a week, I would upload my episodes to YouTube, and I just go directly on Podbean. They have a URL link where you can upload to YouTube. I would take that link, upload it to YouTube from Internet Explorer, and that's it. I wouldn't look at any videos on YouTube, anything like that. I would only spend that few minutes just to upload twice a week on YouTube. The only other thing that I would do on YouTube is, like, if my brother or someone would send me sermons on YouTube, like there's certain preachers that I watch on YouTube. If they would send me sermons, I would go directly to that link and watch the sermon, or if they would send me Christian songs. That's it. I wouldn't watch anything else. So those were my exceptions. And if you decide to do a social media fast or detox, I would really consider, if you're going to make exceptions, to only do it if it's something like faith-based. Like if you have a podcast or something where you do Bible studies and you talk about God, you can make exceptions to just for a few minutes, maybe once or twice a week, to upload or just make it available for people to see, to be able to spread the gospel further, especially with the virus going on and all of that. It's harder to go out and spread the gospel, so social media does make it easier to spread the gospel. But I wouldn't make exceptions just to be able to scroll or to connect with your friends or, see what other people are doing. I was only making these exceptions because I wanted to make sure that you guys were still able to access these Bible studies and these episodes if you didn't just directly go to the podcast episodes on iTunes or Google Play or whatever the case may be, because some people do go through YouTube or my Facebook group. So I wanted to make sure those were still accessible. But a big thing that I spent my time on before doing the social media fast is I would post stories on my Instagram about my episodes, and I would post like 5 or 6 stories talking about my episodes. And I thought that actually made a big difference in my downloads and how many people actually listen to my episodes. But I realized with doing this fast that it really didn't make much of a difference, which I'll go into that here in a little bit. So here are some pros with doing the social media detox. It freed up a lot of time for me to do Bible study, to pray, to focus on preparing content for you guys with the Bible studies and faith-based episodes, and to really just spend quality time with my family and with Christ. And I didn't realize how much time I was actually spending on social media until I completely stopped spending time on it. And it was just crazy the amount of time that I had free now, because I wasn't worried about who uploaded a video and then getting stuck in that vortex of watching 10 different videos when I just went on YouTube for one video. I also felt more at peace. So I was able to just kind of relax and focus on Christ and have true inner peace from Jesus Christ. And that didn't just happen right away. At first, I did feel more on edge, and I noticed myself trying to click on the place where Instagram was at and where YouTube was at, and it was no longer there. And I would just catch myself and I would laugh because I'm like, seriously, girl, like, you need to get it together. After I'd say about a week, I started feeling more at peace, and it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulder because I didn't have the pressure of just trying to keep up with everybody on social media. And another pro is I did no comparing whatsoever. So whenever you get on Instagram or YouTube or Pinterest or Facebook or wherever you stay, whatever social media platforms you have, a lot of times we start comparing ourselves to others and we don't even notice it, but we'll see posts from other people that's like a highlight reel of their life, or we'll see them doing very good and we'll start comparing ourselves to them, even when we don't even notice that we're doing it. And I didn't compare myself at all because I didn't have anyone to compare myself to. I wasn't on social media going through and looking at other people's stuff stuff, or, watching other people's lifestyle videos and different things like that. So I felt that weight off of me because I wasn't comparing myself at all to anyone. And it also helped me to rely on God more because I didn't have any outside influences, and I could just focus on my relationship with Christ and relying on Him to help me with my decisions and just to guide me through everyday life without having to worry about what other people were doing or what other people wanted me to do. And it made it a lot easier for me to just focus on my relationship with Christ and rely on God every step of the way through every aspect of my life. And also another pro is my podcast downloads grew by 26%. And that might not seem like a lot, but like I said, I was spending a lot of time on my Instagram stories talking about my episodes, and I thought that was a big reason why I was getting the amount of people doing the Bible studies and doing the faith-based episodes that were. But it actually turned out that even without me doing those episodes, my podcast downloads grew by 26%. And I think that's because I was able to focus on my relationship with Christ and letting Him guide me and being able to spend more time preparing content for you guys that would really help you guys to learn about Jesus Christ and to help you with your God-led journey. And another pro is I was a lot more productive. I had a lot more free time, so I was able to get a lot more done and stay focused on that. So those are my pros. Now, I didn't have any cons. I was trying to think, I was going to make a list of pros and cons, and I was like, there was literally no cons at all. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything other than the first few days. Like, of course, you go through a withdrawal process, which I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I mean, there was nothing I was missing out on. I felt more at peace. I was able to get closer to Christ and be more productive, spend more quality time with family. Like, there was no cons at all. So now I'm going to go through the withdrawal process. So with the withdrawal process, I would click on the Instagram icon or the YouTube icon and where it was, and I would try to get on it. And I had gotten to where Facebook wasn't an issue, so I didn't even try to get on that really at all, other than just, the exceptions where I would post my episodes on my Facebook group. And I would randomly think of things that I could be missing out on, especially with YouTube, like, oh, who uploaded a new video? What was their video about? Like, I would randomly think about those things, but it definitely wasn't constant at all, and it definitely started disappearing the longer I did the social media detox. But especially the first week, I caught myself just wondering what I was missing out on. So here is some things that I learned. I learned that I can live without social media, and it's crazy because now it's been over a month since I did my fast on social media, and I catch myself on there way less than I was before my fast. I'm a lot more intentional with my time now, and I spend a lot more time strengthening my relationship with Christ and being more productive. And I'm just a lot more aware of where my time should go, and just knowing that social media is really not that important and it's not something that I can't live without. And those YouTube videos or whatever are still going to be there. Like, they're not going to go anywhere. I don't have to watch it the day someone uploads or even the week someone uploads. I was able to go on YouTube after my 40 days and there were still videos there that people were posting. Like, life goes on without you. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in thinking like the world's just going to crumble if we don't get on social media every day, which is insane. But yeah, that's how I felt at some point, so I get it. But I realized that I can live without social media. Another thing that I learned is that Jesus and my relationship with Him is the most important thing. And I already knew that, but sometimes we can get so caught up in worldly things and just the hustle and bustle of the world and what other people are doing that we can lose sight of what's most important, and that is our relationship with Christ and spreading the gospel to other people. Another thing I learned is that I don't need to constantly be on social media to spread the gospel and to make an impact on my podcast. I thought that doing these stories on Instagram really were affecting how many people were listening to my podcast, and I realized that that wasn't the case, and I didn't have to spend a lot of time on social media. I really didn't need social media hardly at all, except the few exceptions that I did do, to be able to spread the gospel and to make an impact with my podcast episodes. Another thing I learned is that I was spending way too much valuable time on social media. So with doing my fast, I realized like all the valuable time I could have been spending on getting closer to Christ and praying more. You can never pray too much. You can never spend too much time with Christ. And also just providing more valuable content for you guys to be able to help you with your journey and spending more quality time with my family. So that was one thing I learned, is that I was just spending way too much valuable time on social media. And now, like, I hardly ever post on social media now. It's so crazy. I have the apps back on my phone. I hardly ever click on them. I'm just a lot more intentional, and I know what's important in my life now. And that's all because of doing that social media fast. And I don't know if I said this at the beginning of my episode or not, but I wasn't going to mention doing the social media fast at all. I was just going to keep it to myself. I knew it was something I needed to do for my relationship with Christ and getting closer to Him and focusing on Him and relying on Him through every aspect of my life. But I know that someone needs to hear this today. Like, someone is really struggling with spending too much time on social media, with comparing themselves, with feeling this pressure of this digital world today. And they need to hear that we can live without social media and everything's gonna be okay. And if you have a podcast or something else other than the social media platforms, you don't have to rely on social media to be able to spread the gospel or to be able to get the word out there on whatever it is that you're doing and to be able to make an impact in other people's lives. Social media is not life or death like a lot of us may feel. And I just knew that someone had to hear this. And I would be doing a disservice if I didn't tell you guys my experience with this. So that you may do a social media detox or a social media fast, and it may help you to reassess and to reevaluate and to start spending more valuable time with your relationship with Christ, or spending time with family and just doing the things that are most important in your life instead of focusing on the worldly things. So I hope this episode helped you guys to know that we can live without social media, and the world's not going to end if you just unplug from social media for a few days or 40 days like I did, and to just see all of the pros with doing a social media fast, and that there's really not any cons to it and there's nothing to lose. So I love you guys so much. I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.